You're watching News at 10 with me, Renee Fong. The Health Ministry recorded 11 new COVID-19 cases as of noon today, bringing the cumulative total of infections in Malaysia to 9,094. Health Director General Datuk Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said of the 11 new cases, 5 are imported involving Malaysian returnees from Australia, Japan and Singapore. Datuk Dr. Nur Hisham added that there are 6 local transmission cases involving 5 Malaysians and a foreigner. 3 of them, he said, are linked to the growing Kurau cluster in Perak.
Setakat ini, kluster ini telah melibatkan 2 buah negeri, iaitu negeri Perak dan negeri Pulau Pinang. Mereka merupakan ahli keluarga kes pertama kluster ini, iaitu kes ke 9,050, iaitu adik, biras dan anak saudara beliau yang berumur 2 tahun. Kes pertama telah mempunyai kontak rapat dengan kesemua kes baru ini semasa aktiviti kunjung-mengunjung ketika sambutan Hari Raya Aidiladha, iaitu pada 30 Julai 2020.
He said no new fatality was reported today and the death toll stands at 125. The Health DG added that 19 patients recovered today and were discharged from hospital, and there is 1 positive case that is being treated in the intensive care unit. Kuala Sanglang and Kampung Tanah Timbul in Perlis have been placed under the Targeted Enhanced Movement Control Order (TEMCO) from 10th to 31st August. Senior Minister for Security Cluster Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said some 872 residents from 191 households would be affected by this move.
Pergerakan keluar masuk oleh penduduk setempat atau penduduk dari luar kawasan PKPD adalah tidak dibenarkan sama sekali, dilarang. Walau bagaimanapun, pergerakan penduduk di dalam kawasan PKPD adalah dibenarkan. Jadi mereka bebaslah untuk keluar, untuk membeli barangan dan sebagainya, kerana premis perniagaan di bawah perkhidmatan keperluan asas ataupun esensial dibenarkan beroperasi. Dan masa operasi dihadkan dari jam 8 pagi hingga jam 6 petang.
His announcement comes after COVID-19 cases from the Sivaganga cluster in Kedah cross state borders, with 10 new infections reported in Perlis last Friday alone and cases also reported in Pulau Pinang. In total, over 40 cases have been reported to have originated from the cluster. Despite the increase in the number of cases and concerns raised by the public, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said the government does not yet intend to reimpose an interstate travel ban, saying the target EMCO is sufficient for the moment. On another note, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri reminded state governments not to make any announcement on the implementation of stricter SOPs, saying this order could only come from the federal government via the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, Act 342. He also said that Act 342 must be complied with by all state governments with the exception of Sarawak.
Kesan daripada kerajaan negeri mengumumkan peraturan tanpa kelulusan kerajaan persekutuan, peraturan tersebut tidak boleh dikuatkuasakan. Kalau pihak polis tidak boleh mengambil tindakan untuk menangkap mereka dan mengenakan kompaun, kecuali diluluskan oleh kerajaan persekutuan.
The senior minister cited Sabah as an example, saying that the state government had announced that public gatherings cannot exceed 150 people, although this was erroneous as Act 342 allows for a maximum number of 250 people. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri hoped situations like these will not be repeated, as it will only further confuse those affected. Members of the public are encouraged to come forward and provide any information related to the security and safety of the community. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Bador stated this following a widespread gambling activities in Sungai Buloh, which went viral recently. In a WhatsApp message, Tan Sri Abdul Hamid said the police will not compromise with any of its officers if they are found to have conspired with gambling syndicates. He said the Sungai Buloh police have begun their investigations into the illicit gambling activities in the area, while the Department of Integrity and Standard Compliance, GIPS, has also been instructed to investigate the matter. The Inspector General of Police also pointed out that the police personnel involved in such activities have been reprimanded and further action will be taken against those who failed to carry out their responsibilities. Previously, a video went viral online showing alleged widespread contraband cigarette sales and gambling activities at several retail shops in Sungai Buloh. Echoing the same sentiment, Home Minister Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin said stern action will be taken against police officers and personnel of the local authority involved with the alleged gambling dens in Sungai Buloh. He also said that police will investigate thoroughly the complaints lodged on Facebook.
Jadi kalau ada aduan seperti ini, saya nak maklumkan di sini, saya akan ambil tindakan yang tegas. Bukan hanya terhadap orang yang melakukan, begitu juga dengan anggota PDRM yang ada di situ. Kalau betul-betul mereka terbabit, kita akan ambil akan bagi kepada jawatankuasa disiplin untuk memastikan bahawa kalau boleh ambil tindakan mengikut disciplinary action yang sepatutnya, kita akan buat.
Datuk Sri Hamzah also urged members of the public to send recordings of alleged wrongdoings to his office instead of posting it on social media. On another note, Datuk Sri Hamzah said the government will table the Independent Police Conduct Commission (IPCC) bill to replace the Independent Police Complaints and Misconduct Commission (IPCMC) bill. He said the bill is expected to be tabled in the Parliament on 26 August.
Minggu depan kita akan bentangkan PICC akta yang baru untuk kita pastikan untuk mendapat kelulusan daripada Parlimen untuk menubuhkan Suruhanjaya yang baru. InsyaAllah itu semua kita lakukan, penambahbaikan yang akan kita berikan dan semua itu supaya kita boleh ambil tindakan yang tegas terhadap anggota-anggota PDRM yang menyalahgunakan kuasa dalam negara kita.
Datuk Sri Hamzah added that the IPCC bill would come under the Home Ministry's purview, unlike the previous IPCMC bill, which was proposed to be under the Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Parliament and Law. The IPCMC was initially proposed to replace the Enforcement Agency Integrity Commission, EAIC. However, the proposal was scrapped after it was opposed by several quarters. The controversy surrounding the 6.3 billion ringgit Pulau Pinang undersea tunnel project, which has dragged on for years, saw former Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng being brought before the court again today and charged with corruption. Today, he was brought before the Butterworth Sessions Court and charged with using his position as the Chief Minister of the state for gratification to help companies to secure the project. Last Friday, Lim had pleaded not guilty in the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court to a charge with soliciting gratification to help secure the project for the same company. At the Butterworth Sessions Court today, Lim, 60, was charged with using his position as the Pulau Pinang Chief Minister then for gratification amounting more than 3 million ringgit for himself as an inducement for helping a company owned by Datuk Zarul Ahmad Muhammad Zulkifli to secure the project, valued more than 6 million ringgit. Datuk Zarul is a director at Consortium Zenith Construction Sdn Bhd. Lim also pleaded not guilty today before Judge Ahmad Azhari Abdul Hamid. Judge Azhari then ordered Lim's case in Pulau Pinang to be jointly tried with his corruption case at the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court, following an application by Deputy Public Prosecutor Ahmad Akram Garib from the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC). For the charge under Section 16, subsection A of the MACC Act, which has been registered at the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court, Judge Azhari said the purpose of soliciting the gratification was to help the company owned by Datuk Zarul to be appointed to implement the undersea tunnel project. Sungai Buloh Asam Jawa Road upgrading to be completed by November. The government is in the final process of finalising the composition in the Special Council to review implementation of the 1963 Malaysia Agreement MA63. Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Sabah and Sarawak Affairs, Datuk Hanifah Hajar Taib, told the Parliament today that the matter would be brought to the Cabinet soon. Commenting further on the matter, Datuk Hanifah said the Special Council is a forum specially set up to discuss and monitor the overall implementation of MA63 together with the Sabah and Sarawak state governments.
Selain daripada itu, satu jawatan kuasa bersama di antara Kerajaan Persekutuan dan Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak telah ditubuhkan bagi membincangkan isu berkaitan minyak dan gas serta pemberian khas. YAB Perdana Menteri telah memberikan mandat kepada YB Menteri Kewangan dan YB Menteri Kanan Kerja Raya bagi membincangkan isu-isu tersebut bersama dengan Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak dan Petronas bagi mencapai penyelesaian secara komersial dengan izin commercial settlement. Berdasarkan pemakluman yang diterima, perbincangan dengan Kerajaan Negeri Sabah akan menyusul selepas ini.
On the current status pertaining to the implementation of 17 out of the 21 items tabled to the Special Cabinet Committee on MA63, Datuk Hanifah Hajar said the responsible agency required 1 to 2 years to implement them. She said the remaining 4 unfinished matters, which included on oil royalties and cash payments for petroleum, as well as minerals and oil fields, would continue to be discussed by the Special Council. The project to widen and upgrade the FT54 Federal Road from Sungai Buloh to Asam Jawa near Kuala Selangor is expected to be fully completed by this November. Senior Minister Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof said the upgrading of the 25-kilometre road recorded savings of about 10 million ringgit and would be completed ahead of schedule. Datuk Sri Fadilah said the savings was due to the appointed contractor's detailed planning besides the close rapport between federal government agencies, the contractor and the state government.
Dianggarkan 30 April 2021. Tapi saya kira kalau kita dapat laksanakan apa yang dihajatkan oleh TNB, saya kira target kita ialah the partial completion ni dapat kita buka jalan ini dalam bulan September ataupun selewat-lewatnya November, hopefully. In terms of kerjasama daripada semua pihak, jadi ianya tidak melambatkan kerja dan ianya mempunyai perancangan yang lebih terperinci.
Datuk Sri Fadilah said the implementation of the design-build project involves upgrading of two-way lanes to 4 two-way lanes on the 25-kilometre stretch. He added that 5 existing intersections, 2 overhead pedestrian and bike bridges were also upgraded, while 2 new bridges were built under the project. The senior minister said the project, which is now 98% complete, was aimed at improving road safety due to sharp turns on the road. With the upgrading, the route has been straightened and travelling distance has been reduced from 30 km to 25 km. Exports of Malaysia's natural rubber has increased by 14.2% in June this year to 38,587 tonnes from 33,780 tonnes in May. Chief Statistician Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin in a statement today said the main export destination was China, accounting for a 68.1% share, followed by Finland with 4.2%, Germany with 3.8%, the United States with 2.9% and Taiwan with 2.7%. Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair said rubber gloves are still the main export item, with export value increasing by 30.7% from 2.13 billion ringgit in May to 2.78 billion ringgit in June. He said the rubber glove industry accounted for 34,358 tonnes, or 77.7% of total domestic consumption. Overall, domestic consumption of natural rubber rose 8.7% in June to 44,217 tonnes as compared with the previous month. Meanwhile, production of natural rubber jumped by 59.3% in June to 33,531 tonnes from 21,044 tonnes in the previous month. Stocks of natural rubber declined in June by 12.6% to 254,105 tonnes against 290,607 tonnes in May. Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair also said that the average price of latex concentrate improved to 479.90 cent per kilogram in June from 432.16 cent per kilogram in May, while the price of standard Malaysian rubber 20 grew to 484.33 cent per kilogram from 470.13 cent per kilogram. The chief statistician also reveals that the services sector revenue recorded negative growth of 24.0% in the second quarter of 2020 to 335.6 billion ringgit as compared with the same quarter of the previous year. Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair said the wholesale and retail trade, food and beverages and accommodation segment decreased 23.7% to 266.5 billion ringgit, registering the largest decline on record since 2013 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. He said this was followed by the Information and Communications and Transportation and Storage segment, which contracted 21.3% to 51.9 billion ringgit, while the Health, Education and Arts, Entertainment and Recreation segment declined 41.7% to 9.6 billion ringgit. Datuk Sri Muhammad Uzair also said that on a quarterly basis, total revenue recorded a decrease of 102.3 billion ringgit, or 23.4% to 335.6 billion ringgit. He said the number of persons engaged in this sector was 3.7 million, down by 115,400 persons, or 3.1% from the same period last year. This decrease was contributed by the wholesale and retail trade, food and beverages and accommodation segment, with a drop of 94,817 persons, or 3.4%, while on a quarterly basis, the number of persons engaged reduced by 96,314 persons, or 2.6%. In line with the drop in the number of persons engaged, the chief statistician said salaries and wages paid only amounted to 23.5 billion ringgit, a decrease of 6.4% year-on-year. Lebanon government on the brink of a blast fallout. That's coming up in our foreign segment. Indonesia's Mount Sinabung erupted today, belching a massive column of ash and smoke 5,000 meters into the air and plunging local communities into darkness with a thick layer of debris. The volcano on Sumatra Island has been rumbling since 2010 and saw a deadly eruption in 2016. Activity had picked up on recent days, including a pair of smaller eruptions at the weekend. There were no reports of injuries or deaths from this morning's blast, but authorities warned of possible lava flows and more eruptions. Aman Putra, a local official with Indonesia's Volcanology and Geological Hazard Mitigation Center, said the eruption is an alert for all to avoid red zone areas near Sinabung. However, the crater's alert status remained at its second highest level. No one lives inside a previously announced no-go zone around the volcano. Small communities nearby were coated in a layer of thick ash as at least one village went from day to night in a matter of minutes. Some of the community's crops were also destroyed by the fallout. The COVID-19 pandemic also complicated matters as scared residents violated safety rules. Sinabung had roared back to life in 2010 for the first time in 400 years. In 2016, 7 people died in one of the eruptions, while another in 2014 killed 16. Lebanon's government was teetering today as 2 ministers' resignations over the deadly Beirut port explosion threatened to snowball, and protesters' fury on the scarred streets showed no sign of abating. The under-fire cabinet struggling to weather the political storm was due to meet amid widespread demands for an end to an entrenched political system dominated by sectarian interests and family dynasties. 6 days after the enormous chemical blast which wreaked destruction across swaths of the capital and was felt as far away as the island of Cyprus, residents and volunteers were still clearing the debris off the streets. International rescue teams with sniffer dogs and specialized equipment remained at work at the disaster's fire-charred ground zero, where the search was now for bodies and not survivors. According to the Health Ministry, at least 158 people were killed in Lebanon's worst peacetime disaster. 6,000 were wounded and around 20 remained missing. The Lebanese want heads to roll over the tragedy and are asking how a massive stockpile of volatile ammonium nitrate, a compound used primarily as a fertilizer, was left unsecured at the port for years. The country's top officials have promised a swift and thorough investigation, but they have stopped short of agreeing to an independent probe led by foreign experts. Salvage crews raced against time today to prevent a second disastrous oil spill off the picture-perfect coastline of Mauritius, with a damaged tanker carrying thousands of tons of fuel at risk of splitting apart. The bulk carrier MV Wakashio ran aground on 25th July with 4,000 tons of fuel aboard and began slipping oil last week, staining coral reefs, mangrove forests and tranquil lagoons in an unprecedented environmental catastrophe for the archipelago nation. More than 1,000 tons has already oozed from the ship, the Japanese operator says, causing untold ecological damage to protected marine parks and fishing grounds that form the backbone of Mauritius's economy. Fuel was being airlifted today by helicopter to the shore, but efforts to pump more from the hold were being thwarted by rough seas and strong winds. Some fuel has been removed, but 2,500 tons still remains abroad, said Prime Minister Pravin Joknath, who warned cracks in the hull were worsening and there was a very real chance the boat could split. Divers have already fresh cracks in the hull, while cracking sounds from the vessel could be heard from the southeast shore, where a major cleanup operation is underway to remove trackless sludge coating miles of Mauritius's unspoiled coastline. Coming up in sports, Verstappen defeats Mercedes duo to seal brilliant Silverstone win. Max Verstappen delivered Red Bull's first victory at Silverstone since 2012 last night, when he made the most of superior strategy in sizzling conditions to beat both Mercedes and claim victory in the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. It was the Dutchman's first victory of the season after Mercedes had won all 4 season opening races and the 9th of his career. Petronas Yamaha Sepang Racing Team SRT MotoGP rider Franco Morbidelli finally ended his podium drought since 2018 after finishing in second place at the Czech Republic GP at the Brno circuit yesterday. The 25-year-old Italian, who commenced in the 3rd spot on the starting grid, took control of the early part of the race.
Being off the podium, his championship.
However, South African rider Brad Binder of Red Bull KTM Factory Racing displayed a sterling performance by pipping him during the 12th lap before he went on to clinch his maiden MotoGP title this season. Binder, the 2019 Moto2 runners-up, clocked 41 minutes and 38.764 seconds, followed by Morbidelli and French rider Johan Zarco of Esponosorama Racing in 2nd and 3rd place, respectively, behind by 5.266 seconds and 6.470 seconds. Morbidelli's teammate Fabio Quartararo, who secured back-to-back victory at the Spain GP and Andalusia GP at the Jerez circuit last month, came in 7th place out of 18 riders, clocking 41 minutes, 50.591 seconds in the 21-lap race. Morbidelli tasted his last victory when he rode for Belgian-based team Marc Vidies in Moto2 class in 2017. The next race is the Austrian GP to be held at the Red Bull Ring Circuit in Spielberg, Austria from 14th to 16th August. Meanwhile, a change of motorcycle engine adversely impacted the performance of the country's Moto2 rider Hafiz Shahrin Abdullah, who merely finished the race in 9th place out of 22 riders at the Brno circuit yesterday. The Inde Aspa team Moto2 rider revealed that he was struggling to compete with the riders in the front group as the engine used in the race was very different from the one used in the Spanish GP and Andalusia GP last month. He, however, was thankful at the 9th position, which saw him collecting 7 points and was in 14th place out of 31 riders with a collection of 17 points after 4 races so far. Judging by his pace during the race, Hafiz says he was confident of getting into the top 5 best riders, but the accident alert on his machine came on many times, making it difficult for him to chase the riders in the front group. Another national rider, Kasma Daniel Kasmayuddin, representing the 1XOXT KKR SAG team, however, failed to finish the race after going out of control on the 10th turn of the 5th lap of the race. Italian rider Enia Bastianini of the Italtrans racing team won his 3rd podium of the season with a time of 39 minutes, 13.926 seconds, followed by rider Sam Lewis from Great Britain and Joe Roberts of the United States, who lagged 0.423 seconds and 5,948 seconds behind Bastianini, respectively. And that concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, 2 areas in Perlis placed under targeted EMCO until 31st August. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon for more updates around the globe. I'm Renee Fong. Stay tuned to Saluran Berita RTM. Good night.